In this module, we look at how historically family policy has developed in the United Kingdom. Family was initially considered a private institution. Government had nothing to do with it. It was religion that influenced it. As far as government was concerned, what was happening in the home was not its domain. But gradually, with the evolution of social policy, more and more intervention has happened in the family. But again, for a long time, it was the family which was being helped, and it was being helped to do whatever it wanted to do, not what the government wanted it to do. There was no prescriptive policy. So children were the first focus of social policy. We saw as before that school fielding and school inspection were introduced in 1906, 1907. Then in 1909, there were tax allowances for children of income taxpayers. In 1911, we see that an evidence of how the government sees the family. So only men were insured, because the idea was that man was the breadwinner while women will stay at home. So if you want to insure someone in the family, you will insure man rather than woman. So that was done in 1911. Women health was important only as mothers. So again, the idea of traditional family was there, that women were primarily mothers. So their health is important as mothers, not as individuals. So the idea of traditional family was promoted by the government, but there were other policies or economic changes which were slowly, gradually changing the traditional family. And those changes were economic changes and educational changes and legal changes, which didn't stop women from entering different work professions and work. By the end of 1950s decade, women's economic contribution to family became so important that most of them, or a large number of them, were working. This made women more independent and autonomous, and this changed the family structure. In the 1960s, there was a change in the sexual relations also. So the hold of religion and culture on these relationships were tested. New methods of contraception gave women more control, and many new laws were passed in the 60s and 70s which redefined family. So Abortion Act was passed in 1967, then Homosexual Law Reform in 1967, then Easier Divorce Reform in 1969, Equal Pay Act in 1970, Sexual Discrimination Act in 1975. So all these laws affected women's position in the society, in the family, and in their working environments. In the 1970s and 80s and 90s, again, there were more laws, and these laws focused on single parents, which are mostly females. So laws were passed to allow single parents to get the benefit from the states. Laws were passed to protect the single parent, which were females, from their ex-husbands. Laws were passed to give income tax breaks to the single parents, which are mostly females. And this was done because the family structure was changing. As we saw in the previous modules, more and more family and households were headed by the single mothers. Marriage became less necessary as legally civil unions became equal to marriage, and cohabitation became popular. In 2000, married couple allowance was also abolished. So all these laws and rules and regulations which gave importance to marriage were slowly abolished, and instead the importance was given to civil relationships or partnerships. So this is how the family evolved, or family policy of the British government evolved from the early 20th century to the early 21st century.